I watched your short film yesterday and I loved it. It's so funny. Maybe it's not funny. Maybe it's horribly ignorant. But I saw on the calendar the holiday that started the other day, which is exactly what's in this movie.
Yeah.
And I looked at it and I went, I don't know what that is. And then like the next day, I watched this, and now I know.
That's awesome. That makes me happy. I'm so glad the calendar had it.
Hey, absolutely. And so I'm just wondering, like, growing up, what was your experience? Like, is this an autobiographical story for you? What was your experience with reconciling, what parts of culture make the transition to a new country, to a new home?
Definitely. I immigrated here pretty old. Like I was 21. I wasn't a child. So it's semi-autobiographical in the sense that when I did immigrate here, I immigrated alone. I didn't have my family with me. I didn't have a community. And every Eid that came by, it was just so sad to me because I was so lonely. I couldn't go back home to celebrate it with my family, and nobody around me even knew what it was. And so in a sense, like that part of it was autobiographical. And, initially I started thinking that maybe I didn't need to talk about it because nobody knew about it. Like who cared if I talked? Why should I? And in a way I started out as Z. I wanted to assimilate. I was like, maybe I shouldn't talk about it. I'll celebrate it at home in my hidden space, but I don't need to go out and advertise it like Amina does. And as I grew older, I realized if I don't do it, who will? And that's how you normalize things. That's how you make something like Eid, which 1.8 billion Muslims around the world celebrate. It's crazy that it's not even on mainstream media until this. So for me, that was definitely one of the driving force to why I wanted to tell the stories. It's just that I became Amina as I grew older. I wanted to tell everybody about Eid.
Sure. I've found that about myself. My mother's Honduran, and when I was a kid, a lot of the Latino culture, I was kind of like, yeah, whatever, But now that I'm a little bit older, I feel like I'm more invested in it. Like
Yeah, exactly.
I want to know more about the Mayan stuff.
Exactly.
And maybe things are different now, and I think that it's very inspiring in the film. But when I was in high school, I went to a very multicultural school, but I found that it was like divided into cliques by ethnicity, and so there wasn't a whole lot of crossover. And I think it was very inspiring in the film when they do, when the kids are willing to be educated and learn about, this person who is different and has their own thing that they don't know about. They're like, oh, tell me about that.
Exactly.
I don't know. Tell me a little bit about confronting that and deciding whether deciding to make it a very positive and uplifting story as opposed to making Z alone.
Correct. Yeah. No, I feel like a part of the story is, if you really go out there and tell people about who you are and what's special to you, people will inherently start caring. It's just human nature, and to me, telling the story, for example, yeah, anybody could read about Eid on Wikipedia. But what would make it more impactful is if I actually Trojan horsed it into some sort of a story, take the audience into a journey where the audience care with the character. They understand what it means to this character. And when she doesn't get it, they hurt with her. And then when she gets celebrated in the end with her classmate, they celebrate with her. And that's the power of storytelling, right? You don't preach, you just tell a good story, and then audience will go along with the ride.
Thank you so much. The film is great. I believe that in just, I don't know how long, just a few years, Eid will be as ubiquitous as St. Patrick's Day.
I hope so.